Hi everybody, Richard DeBanks from Athletic Alliance Sports Supplements, the company that makes you better, stronger, faster, and smarter. And today what I wanted to talk about is the five best supplements for performance athletes. Now the difference between appearance-oriented athletes and performance-oriented athletes is fairly obvious. Performance athletes are training for sports rather than appearance, like say a bodybuilder. And of course, there's a lot of crossover in terms of training and supplements, but there's also some key differences. And to be frank, I mean, what is the point of being jacked if you're useless, right? So we are focusing on athletes and supplements for athletes, which are the 5 best. And I will dive right into it. Number 5, vitamin D3. Okay, vitamin D3. This is especially important for those of us living in the Northern Hemisphere. I live in Canada, Vancouver, where there's not a lot of sun. And I think that's a pretty common problem for most of us in North America and Europe. Other than, of course, places like California. But so, you know what, at nighttime, obviously, there's no sun. A lot of us work indoors for most of the day, not getting any sun, training, usually indoors again, and playing our sports, if it's hockey or basketball, for example, again, we're indoors, right? So chances are, other than the peak of summer, we're really not getting enough vitamin D, D3. D3 is very inexpensive, 30 days is maybe $10 or so. We have it in a lot of our products. I know Mr. T, we carry vitamin D as well as Sandman GH. And a vitamin D deficiency, you will notice in quite a few ways. Your immune system will be compromised. Your bone health is not as good. You're more prone to stress fractures, aches and pains, and general fatigue. So number 5, vitamin D3. Number 4, beta-alanine. Beta-alanine works by buffering hydrogen ions and producing intramuscular carnosine. Now that's all very technical, and it would be a long video to explain all of that. Suffice it to say that beta-alanine is really essential for sports in that it delays the onset of fatigue, muscle soreness, and recovery. And I'll just stop right there, actually. And that's one of the main things. When looking for supplements or training regimes that are geared towards athletes, we really want to look at a few things. The priorities are, number 1, recovery. Because if you're playing a sport, or engaging in a sport, that is demanding in itself, and to couple that with training, strength training, or any sort of outside of sport training, that really taxes your system, so recovery is extremely important. Body composition is another thing that is very important. In bodybuilding, again, for example, athletes are training for hypertrophy, make every muscle as big as it can and to pop out, and for sports, a lot of times that's not what it is. We're really looking for maximizing our strength, our strength to weight ratio. So a lot of times we want to get stronger and we don't necessarily want to get bigger. Of course, there's exceptions like, linemen in football and all that sort of stuff, right? So those are our priorities. Moving along to number 3. And number 3, I kind of cheated and I threw in a stack. But it's an L-carnitine and omega-3 oil stack. Now, what L-carnitine does is it releases, it helps to transport fat from your bloodstream into your muscle cells. So it's a potent way of utilizing fat, of course, which is a good way to burn fat. And it also improves the cellular health, the health of your muscle cells. And it combines very well with omega-3. The two of them go in there together, and they do a great job of releasing fat and utilizing fat. And, that obviously provides more energy and et cetera, right? That was number 3. Number 2, creatine. And I will be specific and say creatine HCl or creatine hydrochloride. Creatine is one of the most studied supplements. Most people will know about that. Its efficacy has been proven. It definitely will increase your strength. It will increased power output. Creatine especially is very useful for those short duration type bursts, like, you know, reps, under 10 reps kind of thing. And creatine also has cognitive benefits as well. It's not been studied so much, but yeah, there are cognitive benefits from using creatine as well. And I say creatine HCl rather than creatine monohydrate. If you like creatine monohydrate and you use it, hey, keep using it. Some people, though, have digestive problems with creatine monohydrate. They may have bloating, bathroom problems. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into any details. Use your imagination. Oof. Okay, let's move on. So yeah, creatine HCl is creatine hydrochloride, and it has a much higher absorption than creatine monohydrate. So creatine HCl, generally you need maybe 2 grams of it rather than, say, 5 of creatine monohydrate. Okay. And also remember this with creatine, you want to combine it with something like a leucine or a glucose, like a sugar type a product, or with electrolytes. All of those act as a transport mechanism to get the creatine into your cells, okay? So that was number 2. So that brings us to number 1. Drum roll, please. You can tell this is a tight run ship here, right? The number one supplement for athletes, and to be honest, this wasn't even close. These are so useful that if you're really not using them, you are doing yourself a major disservice. The number 1 supplement for athletes is BCAA'S, branched chain amino acids. Now, I could literally do an entire video just on the benefits of BCAA'S, but I will keep it brief and just say what they do. And if you want to look more deeply into how it all works, then, you know, by all means, I'll put a link at the bottom of the video. But branched chain amino acids, they increase strength. Repeated use over time increases your lean to fat ratio, so your body proportion. BCAAs used pre-activity provide your muscles with essential amino acids so that the training process doesn't break those down. So typically when your muscle is, typically when your body is breaking down muscle, it's to get at BCAAs, which it needs for energy. And that doesn't happen, of course, if you supplement with BCAAs. They inhibit, also pre-workout, they inhibit the production of tryptophan, which if you've ever had a turkey dinner and fallen asleep, that's from the tryptophan, right? Post-workout, also pre-workout actually, the leucine in BCAAs. BCAAs are made of leucine, isoleucine, and valine. The common ratio is 2:1:1. We use a 4:1:1 ratio just because the leucine is kind of like, let's say you got Guns N' Roses, right? Leucine is Axl Rose, valine and BCA and isoleucine are the rest of the band. Now, leucine doesn't really work that well on its own. It works, but they're much better as a group, right? So yeah, and leucine is definitely the star of the bunch, but they're all useful. And that's why we use a 4:1:1 ratio. So there's a little bit more leucine. Leucine also elevates insulin, which works as a transport mechanism. That'll bring the creatine and whatever else, beta-alanine or whatever else you're taking, it'll help kind of ramjet it into your muscle cells. And for that same reason, post-workout, the leucine in the BCAAs triggers the anabolic process. So it spikes the insulin and it kickstarts that muscle protein synthesis, right? So there's a strong anabolic response with BCAAs. So those are the 5. And I will give you a couple bonus ones as well. This one is fairly obvious. Probably most people know it, and so I didn't include it. Whey protein. Whey is superior to any other kind of protein. Yeah, soy is not better. Pea protein is not better. None of them are, okay? Whey concentrate is valuable. Hydrolyzed whey is great, and whey isolate also. Very, very, very good for the anabolic process, recovery, repair, building muscle, all of that stuff, right? So whey kind of goes without saying. And caffeine. caffeine has been kind of kicked around a lot over the years. But you know what? The studies and the evidence really don't back up any detrimental effects of caffeine. It's very good for cognitive benefits, very good, obviously, for energy, and there's no damage from taking caffeine long term. I mean, some people may, go too hard on the caffeine and risk, dehydration or something like that. But I mean, that's all really manageable. And here's a bonus tip for you. If you want, you can stack caffeine with L-theanine, and caffeine will give you the energy, and L-theanine kind of levels it out so you don't have any kind of anxiety or anything like that. So there you go. Tried to be as brief as I can. The 5 best supplements for athletes in performance-oriented sports, and Athletic Alliance is a company dedicated to performance-oriented lifestyles. So there you go. We're going to have a bonus in the bottom. What will it be? It will be Athlete 30 for 30% off. So you find that below the video. Like, subscribe, share. We would appreciate it. And I am going to continue my powerlifting comeback and do some heavy squats. So we are out. Do svidaniya. Adios. Sayonara. Arrivederci.